We're back. Last week we cut the edge off that firewall so we could be able to run the twin turbo exhaust down through there and out through the fender. We got to do the same thing to the other side. The other side gets a lot more work though. Let's take a look. First off, this is what we ended up with last week. Actually came in and I cut out this part of the cowl to create room to come down with the exhaust and then out. I put in a drain on the side. We closed all that in. Turned out great. Now we got to turn our attention to this side. I'm just going to go ahead and do this side real quick. I might throw y'all on time lapse for that and just cut in a little bit of it so you can watch me. You've already seen me do it on the other side. It's going to be the same process. If anything's different, I'll show you. I'm hoping to even use the same templates. So I'm just going to knock that out. And then after that, we've still got a lot to do. I'm going to mount the wiper motor in here, and we're going to make the firewall as close to it as possible. We're going to make a cover for it down here when they put this firewall in, because this is like a ordered firewall. You just order it and you're supposed to be able to weld it in, but it didn't match up to the floor. And you can see there, sorry about my finger, you can see their solution was just to put a piece of metal in. We're not okay with that, so we're going to come straight down so it's, you know, flush like it ought to be. And I'm sure there's other stuff we got to do. Also, I'll have to straighten this side out too, so we can get our closeout panel that Corey built fitting in good. So yeah, I'm just going to get to work. We got so much to do. That was a bunch more work than I remembered, but it's been over a week. So you can see all the rusty crustiness down inside of that. Really needed to be cut out and fixed anyways, but you couldn't even see it. The rest back in there has got some surface rust, but at least it's solid looking. I'm gonna clean all that out good, and I'll spray some E-coat back in there the best I can, just to, you know, help protect what metal is bare from whenever I clean it. I think I may try to, I don't know how I'll clean it. Maybe I'll put the belt sander down in there and just kind of clean it out. That's what I did on the other side a little bit. So I'm going to get on cleaning all this up and getting ready to figure out what the structure is we got to cut out and what we got to rebuild. Still got a little more to cut out though right here. Not much though, but I'm going to get on that and we'll keep moving. Got her all cut out and cleaned up. I welded that seam on the inside. It wasn't welded at all on the far side. It had a couple of spot welds over here, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure that was tiled together where I could get to it really nicely. The template I made for the other side fits in here well. No real adjustment. I'm going to make this out of metal. You saw me do it in the last video, so I'll be back with it here in a few minutes. Well, I got that all bent up. It took a lot less time, because I did it the right way the first time and already had all the steps and knew I couldn't use the brake this time. So let me show you what we got here. Should fit in there really good. I've still got to grind this down before we can weld it and get all that cleaned up, but it fits nice, even on the inside. I'm very happy with it, so I'm going to pull it off there, grind it down, and we'll get it welded in. Got her all welded in. Turned out good. I just got to grind it all down and trim some stuff. I've got a hole right here. I'm going to make a little patch and weld that in right quick. And then it'll be on to filling in this gap. And once that's, you know, all wrapped up, then we can cap it. So it's coming right along. Well, I've went ahead and done a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to catch y'all up right quick. I'm just trying to get through this right quick, like I said, so we can keep moving forward. I've got all day in this, so let me show you where we're at. I'm fixing to clean up and go home. Well, here's where we're at. You may have noticed there was a hole there. I got that patched. And there was a hole up here. Of course, and then the vent hole. Got all that patched. I just got to grind that down. I have actually test fit the other pattern from the other side, and it fits nice for the cap. So tomorrow, we'll grind all that down. We'll put some paint on this or some e-coat, and probably put the cap on it. I may call it a day after that tomorrow. So yeah, we'll get after it tomorrow. Hopefully we can wrap this part up. I ground everything down, got it all cleaned up. I had a few little holes that I had to weld up and got them welded up. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's actually interior paneling. You'll never see this at all. This just has to be in there for the structure so we don't get water in it, so the water has a way to run out. And then I've just got to make that panel for the outside. But before we do that, I'm going to throw a little e-coat on this, and we'll black it all out, and that'll keep it from rusting in the future. You can't get back in here once this is sealed up. So now's the chance to get, some material on that so it'll soak in and dry and be good in there. So yeah, let's get to that. Grabbed our template from the other side, flipped all the little things. Slight adjustments, nothing crazy. I did trim it from here down. Now I'm going to go and make this out of metal and put our drain in it. We'll get it welded in and moving on. I got our panel made. This is just the e-coat on the back side. I actually e-coated a little bit more in here again, just, couldn't hurt to have a little extra on it. I'm going to go ahead and slide that in there. Also, I went ahead and drilled all my spot weld holes that I'm going to use. I'm going to slide it in, we'll weld her up. Got the panel installed, and it's all clamped up here at the top. It's got to go in at the bottom, but it just pushes in, and I can tack it, and it'll be fine. So let's weld this thing in here, and this will be wrapped up, and we'll move on to the next part. Back at it this morning. I've already been working. I've got all these edges nice and tight. Let me show you. Just like the other side, except I didn't weld that corner. Like I said before, we're going to put the rod in there. But before we do that, we're going to actually take the cowl tag off. It looks like it has, I don't know, body filler or something in the holes that somebody's done in the past. So I've got a drill. I'll go ahead and drill this one out. And I have to dig this one out with a knife and then drill it out. We'll take that off because we're going to be cutting through there. I don't know if he'll want the cowl tag back on. I doubt it. All it does is give you the data of the car, and this car is far past that data tag. So let's get that off right quick. That came off real easy. I knew it would. Those aluminum rivets, they usually come right out. You can tell all that rust underneath this thing. Anytime you paint a car, it's a good idea to take the cowl tag off actually and paint underneath it. You can buy these rivets and put them back on. This one's not necessary in my eyes, but we'll see. But next we're going to go ahead and cut this out and get this round rod in.
this a while. Let me show you what I've been doing here. I got that round rod in and ground down. The top's pretty good. I got a few places I need to come back to. But right here, the material they had put in it was thin. I don't know if they ground through it or what, but it had material behind it. I just cut it out, made us a little patch panel. I'm going to go ahead and just weld that dude in right quick and continue on. It won't be long and this part will be wrapped up and we'll be moving on to the next thing. It's probably the wiper motor. I'm guessing for myself, so also we'll have to do something about the underside, but I need to know how much room we have once the wiper motor's in. So yeah, I'm gonna weld this in right quick and keep moving. Well, as you can see, I came in, I got it all patched in now, ground down, looking good and strong. I'm happy with that. The top of it looks really good. I'm happy with that. I went ahead and grabbed our new wiper motor. This is a wiper motor from Newport Engineering. Never heard of them, but it looks like it's meant to fit here, except our motor does hit the firewall. I'm going to kind of mark that out and just make a divot in it until we can get it, until I can get it to sit flat, and then we'll be able to address it. But we'll be able to make this hole much smaller. It's going to be much better. I do not like how large that is at all. Somewhere in there, we're just going to go ahead and just mark out. Get this marked out here. Gives us a nice idea of what we want to cut. I'm going to cut it all the way back to there, and we'll just go from there. I think that'll work out just fine. I got her bolted in. Bolts up fine. You may have noticed I had to keep cutting that one side. I didn't have it quite twisted originally enough, but no big deal. We have a welder. But I think what I'd like to do now is try to figure out exactly what I can find to go in here and weld in place to recess that, and then we'll fill this other side in. We're actually going to build, I'm going to build it all the way up through here to here and fill that in. Same with this side. We're going to come out to here and break it and come down. That way we clean up all this edge and make this, hole as small as possible. Yeah, that'll be the best. It'll look the best. It'll be easiest to cover because we are going to build a cover for it. It doesn't stick out a whole lot, so it's not going to be terrible. We'll figure out a way to run these wires in to the cab. I'm probably thinking right in here somewhere, maybe, or maybe right there, and we may build that into the piece below it. I don't know. We'll have to play with that, figure it out. But yeah, we got to run that inside somehow. So let me get to working and thinking on this, and I'll bring you back when we have a plan, because I currently do not. Well, I kind of got a plan, just a little one. Let me show you what we've got, and we'll do a little bit of cutting and fitting, and we'll just figure it out as we go. So here's the plan. I went and got some exhaust that is 3-inch. This motor fits in it with plenty of room. That way we can get a little bit of air around it. I mean, let's face it, this thing, if it ever runs, it probably won't be for long. We're not going to run it for hours on end. And then I took a measurement to see how long that motor was. It's 4 inches. So I thought we'd go ahead and mark this at 4 inches. I'm going to cut it down, and then we'll split it. So, all right, let's go. Come back and hit that with a grinder, clean that up real nice, and then we'll take it out there to the car and mark it, and we'll figure it all out from there. Corey came by. He hated it. No big deal. We have a new plan. Let me show you what we're going to do. All right, so we decided we can clock this in any direction. He didn't like how it was out here. I didn't either, but he came up with a plan, then I added to his plan, and we have a new plan. So here's the new plan. So we're going to plate this completely. We're actually going to mount this from the inside. We're going to take their plate, put it back on the motor, and I'll build basically brackets over and one over here so we can mount it. It come down through this opening and just put studs in there, slide it on, bolt it on, it'll be good. Then this is completely flat then, and we will be able to recess it 1.5 inches in. And how we're going to overcome that is we're going to take 1.5 inches. Well, all of this. We're going to take all of this out. So I'll end up making either a new bracket, or I'll cut this one down and use it, or I'll cut the ball out of it. That's probably what will happen. So I'll probably cut the ball off this thing and put it into another piece. So that's easy enough. By the way, this is not brass. This is barely coated with something. You can see the steel right through it. But anyways, so that's the new plan. I think I'm going to just go ahead and cut all this out and plate it, and then tomorrow we'll start building all the custom stuff, and that will completely slick that firewall out. That'll be so much better. Also, that gets rid of several other issues we were going to have with having a cover on it that I had to make, and the cover would have been weird looking no matter what. And we had to keep that cover off the paint, so we're going to have a little gap there, which would have been fine. I could have done that. But if whoever went to put that on or whatever, it'd be easy to scratch. Also, that gives us more room in the engine compartment for this thing, you know, huge turbo pipes and then all this other stuff, valve covers, intakes. I don't even know what kind of intake he's running. He won't even have to think about it now. So I'm going to get to work and we'll cut that out and we'll go from there. All that cut out, we're going to have to make an extension for that inner panel. No big deal, but that'll also allow us to make a flange all the way across for that outer panel. That way we can butt weld it all the way around and then do a few rosette welds. I'll make that super strong. That way this that motor in there doesn't flop. It'll be stronger than probably it was before. I made us up a little template. Let's see if I can get it out of there. Also overlaps here. We'll do a couple of rosette welds there. Same on the other side. And we should be in good shape.
I'm back at it this morning. I got that cut out last night, but it was already almost 5, so I left. But let's see if we can get this thing cut up and bent and in the car, and then we'll make that plate for the front of it and keep on moving. Pretty excited about how this is going to turn out. I think it's going to be really, really good.
Well, I got this thing all laid in here. Got it clamped up here. Went in and did a couple of rosette welds there. This piece broke off, but it goes right here on the inside. We can weld that back together. We're already going to have to weld it. Just there wasn't much material. I put some holes in it for rosette welds too. Fits pretty good. I'm happy with it. And I'm just going to start and tack. And then just basically hammer that bottom edge. It's just a little wonky, but as I go, I'll tie that in and work my way around. And then we're going to do the outer panel, and we'll do some rosette welds so we can rosette weld it to this, and then we'll butt weld it to that, and it'll be nice and flush. And then we can figure out what we're going to do for the wiper motor, how to mount it. And we may get this to where it'll fit, and then figure out how the thing's got to be mounted and do all the welding. And that way we can weld this in and then just mount the wiper motor. It'll be super easy. All right, I got her all welded in. It looks great. Everything's sealed up nice. I'm happy with that. So the next thing I'll do is make this outer panel. I'm just going to make a template and cut it out right quick. And I'll show you all. We can get it fitted good. And then we'll have to figure out how we're going to mount the wiper motor to it. And go ahead and get the studs or whatever it is welded to it so it's ready to rock. And then we'll just slide it in there. And we'll do some rosette welds from the outside. And then, like I said, a butt weld on the outside, and that'll be good and tight and strong. Ties all that together. We'll be able to put the motor in from the outside, and then we'll move on to the arm that we got to cut down. But she's looking good. This is going to be so much better than having that big divot in there. I'm so much happier with this. I've been building this template here. I got a little hillbilly hack for you. I've actually got it fitting pretty good, but it's a little wonky down here at the bottom. There's just a lot of different cuts or whatever. So we're actually going to, I've taped it up there. I'm going to go to the inside and just spray just a little bit of paint on it. And then we can just follow those lines to cut it out. Super simple, and it'll be really precise. See the back of the panel here? I'm just going to go in. And you don't need a lot. Just a little paint will go a long way. And then you'll be able to see in here to where these lines are. So let's give that a second to dry, and we'll pull it off and trim it up. All right, let's pull this off, see how that turned out. Should be good. Yeah, look at that. Let's follow the lines, and we have a super precise bottom part there. So I'm going to cut that right quick and turn this into metal, and we'll see if we can get it welded in. That'll definitely work for a really good patch panel. Could have cut a little closer right there, but it'll weld. It'll be fine. It fits in there nice. So now I just got to figure out what I'm going to do for the mount for that wiper motor. But I don't think that's going to be terribly complicated. I already have a plan. So I went ahead and kind of just set that on there for now. We're going to I'll put something under here to space it up. It just needs to not touch this. That's all that matters. And then I'm just going to make a nice heavy piece of plate. Bracket just comes over, down, and then over. And we put a couple of holes here, and I'll weld some bolts on it for studs. And this dude will just slide right down. Same way with this side. I'll probably end up just coming straight off of it. It's kind of narrow. Just straight off, down, and over. We'll put one stud there. And then we'll be able to mount that from the inside with a couple of nylocks. This car, I mean, it's going to be rowdy. It's a solid mount motor, so it's going to shake everything in the car. So nylocks are, going to help it from unbolting. But yeah, that'll work, and that'll get us mounted to here. And then the only thing left will be just to figure out that arm and get it mounted and drill us a hole to run these wires inside the car. We'll be good to go. I've been in here cleaning up some parts, got some stuff ground down. Here's what we're going to use for brackets. It's the most simple way to make an offset bracket, in my opinion, and get it really good is to set that up there. We'll set this on the outside. I have to rock that to make it level. I'll put a couple of tacks down through this, and then we'll be able to weld it to the top once that's all done. I have to take a little more Powder coat off that, no big deal. Same thing on the other side. Boom. It's not really an up and a down yet, so, but something to that effect. Here, and then that will be tight to this. So then we'll weld the head of the bolts on here, and then we'll have the thickness of the head of the bolt between the bottom of this and the plate, which will be more than enough room for air flow and keep it from rattling. So that's the plan. Let's see if we can get some of this stuff tacked together and then welded together. Well, I thought I was recording. Let me show you what I've done, because, you know, hitting the record button, hard. So all I did was tack the angle iron to that plate, and then set this down and tacked it against it, both sides. Now it's just all tacked together. I'm sure it's hot, but we can pick it up like that. Now I can take these 3 screws out and seam weld all that real quick, and then our bracket's ready. We'll just have to drill some holes and mount the hardware. Cleaned our bracket up, drilled some holes, put some bolts through it, and I marked it. I'm actually going to throw that on the belt sander right quick. I'm going to grind them down and then put it on the belt sander and clean them up right quick. And then we can set her down, tack the bolts, we'll pull it off, put the motor back on it, bolt it together, test fit the whole piece, and if we like it, we'll take it back apart and I'll fully weld those bolts in, and then we can weld the plate in. I'll trim down, I got our bolts in it, give them all a tack, and then we'll mount this and go test fit it. That clamps up great. You have plenty of room inside, top and bottom. It's pretty close to where it's actually supposed to be, just a little further in, which is no big deal. And yeah, I'm gonna take that apart, weld those nuts on there, and then weld the plate onto the firewall. We're there, man. Well, things have escalated. Let me show you what I'm doing. Yeah. So I got the bottom welded in it, welded really nice. But the top had a bubble in it. And, you know, before it had some, because it actually started way out over here, I thought, you know what, let's fix it right now. So I went ahead and cut that, and cut it to here. I'm actually going to have to cut it down the middle to take some material out. And we'll lay that thing down and get it good and flat. I got the straight edge out, tack it back together, and we'll weld that in, and then we'll have a whole bunch of grinding, but we're getting close on this part. Man, it looks so good. So much better than what we'd originally planned.
back at it again. Yesterday I cleaned that firewall up. Y'all saw me cut the top of that and pull it down and re-weld it. It had a weird curve over there, and the whole thing probably had a curve originally, and when they originally did the firewall, they had it all jacked up, and we put in that cowl panel and just followed what was there, and just wasn't right. So now it's much better. Let's take a look at it. I'll show you. Yeah. I don't know if y'all can tell, but it's much flatter now, and it looks good from the sides. I think the side profile is good. See, it'll need body work, of course, but that ain't no big deal. They can dial in what little bit needs to be done, but it's much, much better now. So the next thing I think I'm going to do is actually test fit the wiper motor. Let's make sure it fits in here. I know it will. We've had it in there, but just get it in there and get her bolted down one time. I don't have any nylocks, so we're going to have to just throw these on it for now. Whenever it gets final assembled, they need to put nylocks on it. I'll make sure I tell the guy to do that. So, but yeah, that looks so much better than any cover we could have ever built for this. But let's throw the wiper motor on it. Fits good. We'll fix the arm for it. And then I think the next thing I'm going to address is down here where they partially welded that in. Or it looks like they had it over too far and then cut it and moved it. But I'll go in there and clean that up, make sure that weld is good. And then we got, the only thing really left here will be, I got to adjust this a little bit. I'm not even going to show that. I showed it in the last video. It's just bend it up till the plate fits it good. And then down here, we may have some issues because I forgot we do have to keep that. That's, I think that's where the speedometer cable would have came through, but I tell you what, I know for a fact this thing's not getting a speedometer cable, so we'll delete that. We'll figure it out as we go. Let's mount this motor. See if we can get this to slide in there and hook up. Gonna be a fucking nice lower than that. What's up? What are we hung on? Oh, that inner structure's down. I'm gonna have to clamp that up, see if I can get a weld on it. It's welded on the outside, but not on the inside. Try it here. There we go. Should go. We'll be fine. There we go. Now we figure out where to run the wiring in to the car. I'm thinking right up in here. Oh, y'all can't see. Let's take a look. I think we'll drill a hole up in here somewhere for the wires to be passed through. And then we're not going to wire it, but whoever does, they'll have a way to get the wire into the cab of the car. And they just put a grommet there. That'll work out just fine. That'll work just fine. There's plenty of clearance over here to run it. They'll probably end up having to put some sort of clamp in there. There's many different things they could do to keep the wire secure, but that's not going to be a problem. So, yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Well, I'm going to see if y'all can see down inside this cowl. I'll show you what I'm going to tack up. There's a little lip in there. And I'd like to tack it up just so that wiper motor can't hit it. Because I was having a little bit of an issue with it, but it's right here. It was bent down, but I'll just clamp it up and we'll just put a couple of tacks on it. It'll be fine. I got us a couple of tacks down in here. We'll see if you can see them. I'm not sure you can or not, but there's some tacks in there. It holds that up great. I also went ahead and welded that little bit. I hadn't welded that up yet. This is in pretty good shape up here, but I'm going to go ahead and dial that in right quick, and then we'll put that wiper motor back in. I ain't going to show all that. I'm just going to do it, and I'll show you the end. I've got her all cleaned up and fitting good. Went ahead and ground down that little area down there. That works good. I got all this fitting nice. This fits really nice too. I have the motor mounted in there. The next thing we're going to do is make the arm for it, which I have right here, and probably ended up just figuring out how long it is exactly, cutting it here, and then just put that piece back between it and weld it, and then we'll clean it up good, and that'll be good to go. And that'll take all the amount we recessed it, and almost every bit of it will come out of this, so we'll be in good shape there. I'm going to determine how far it is from here to here. We're going to do it pretty simply, I think, or the simplest way I know how to do it. Just figure out where you are, mark yourself a line, go to the other side, and then you can see where it's at. It doesn't touch, so I just have to be cognitive of that. Measure that distance. We come up with 2 7/8. So as long as we're within probably 1/8 of that, we'll be fine. And we'll just cut her off first right here, and then right here. And then we'll lay that down and figure out how much of this center section we got to cut out, because it'll be too long. Then we'll weld her back together, bevel the edges, weld it together, cleaned up, it'll be great. All right, let's cut her off. Start with this side, and I'm just going to tack that together. A couple of really good tacks, and then we'll know, we can set this out here and figure out exactly where it's got to be, and then we'll know where to make our next cut. So was it 2 7/8 before? I marked those lines. I'm hoping we can just set this up here like that. See, that's all the way out already. So we know we got to be right there. Cut that off, bevel it, and weld her together. Go ahead and bevel it. Just confirming that it's still real close, and it is. Now we can take that out. We'll just lay her out and weld her in. See if we can get her up in this vise and lock down and grind it. She is hot. Whew. Hot. That's all right. There you have it. We're gonna let her cool off. Well, looky here. Got her all bolted in. You might be thinking, David, that's not where that's supposed to be. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know where it goes.
So once they actually turn the wiper motor on and let it park itself, and once it does, they can always adjust that to wherever they need, depending on, well, I don't have the wiper arms stuff, so if I had it, I'd set it, but we don't, so somebody else will have to deal with it, but it will work now. So we're in good shape. We'll go ahead and throw a little cover back on it. Yeah, now, we do have one more thing to build with these. We're not going to do it today. I don't have time. I got a short day today, so I'm actually going to end up building a ring to go on the inside of this bottom in here out of some sort of plate steel that I can thread, and then I'll spot weld it in a few places around so it'll hold. That way we don't have any, like if you put a nut cert in there or whatever, it would raise this up, and we don't want that. We want it to be as solid and as level as we can get it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut all this out here, but I'm not going to cut it quite as far back. That way when I put a piece of metal in here, we'll have a little extra here. And I can weld it and then come in and grind that back. So let's get her cut out. Ahead and brought this in here, marked us out some lines, and we just want that flat, so we just cut it free. It'll be fine, and use it as a template here. I made it a little longer than it has to be, nothing crazy. And we'll run it through the shear and see if we can't use it just to trim us up right quick. We'll be done. Here's our little plate. We're just going to test fit it, and I got to get out of here. But, oh yeah, it's going to be just fine. And then we'll make a little plate to go right there to wrap that in, or I may actually cut it and fold it back. I haven't decided yet, but we'll do something right there. We'll weld the rest of that in, and that'll be good to go. Then we can cut it out here. And then we've got to address this opening in here, but we'll have to set the car back on the body for that, because we'll have to we want it as close to the transmission as we can get it in here. That way the inside of the car has as much room as possible. That's it for today, though. It's a short day for me. I'm just going to do the things I got to do. We'll hit it tomorrow. Yeah, we'll get that welded in. It's going to be good. Well, I'm back at it this morning. I have a whole day today, so we're getting some more done. I've already done something. I'm going to show you what I've done. It's nothing crazy, but we'll get back to work on this firewall. So I just took that piece we made yesterday, went down to the other shop and put a break in the edge. That way when we put it in here, we can tie it in to this other panel. Whoops. If I can hold it. To cover up that. But anyways, I'm going to hold that in there, mark it, trim it up a little bit, and yeah, we'll get this welded in. Just coming around. Well, it's me again. It's been like 2.5 hours since I filmed that last spot. I've been working. Let me show you what we've done. Let me get you caught up. So here's what I got done. I welded all that in. Y'all saw me weld it, but I went ahead and just ground it down and got it dressed out nice. I also welded this over here. It was really thin, so I fixed it. Got that good. I also welded it from the inside. It wasn't like that before. I welded all this from the inside as well, just so it has a really, really good stable point where it's welded. I welded the floor back in. I haven't cleaned that up at all. We'll do that later. I can do that once it's maybe in the air. I don't know. We'll see. The next thing we're going to address is this giant hole for the trans tunnel. I don't know how much of this we're going to keep. The opening is off-centered. If you notice over here, that's about, I don't know, ½ inch. Over here, it's like 2. So that hole is not straight at all. So I don't know how much we'll put back. Or maybe we take some out of this side, but we won't know till we get the car back on the frame. So I think that's our next thing. Put this thing back on the frame and put a few bolts in it. And we'll start looking at this. We'll wrap that up. We got some issues. The points that I picked it up with in the front, I've cut off and are no longer there. Corey and I are going to try to slide the body forward on the blocks. Yeah. We'll see how this goes. But I'm going to let y'all watch just in case we drop it. I mean, what does it smell? Move this one. It's cold. Well, I got there. I was just going to see how easy it was. We still may have to set it back down and adjust it again, but maybe clear. Maybe I'll clear this. Close there? Yeah. This way. This side looks great. Yeah. Close. Pretty close. I mean, it's scrubbing over here. I'm going to bolt this thing on, and we'll get back to work. So after like almost 2 hours, I kind of have a plan. Let me show you what we're doing, or at least the first piece of it. So I told you what they cut out wasn't even. So I just decided to even that up, and then we're going to take it all the way out to the very corner on both sides, and then we're just going to work from there. I actually made a partial template, and I like how that looked on this side, but the other side was too much material in the way, so I couldn't actually get it to work. So I'm going to get in here and cut this out, and then see if I can make a template. I have spent more than 4 hours on this, but let me show you what we've got. Finally have us a decent template. It looks good. I have the black lines that shows me where the exact edge is, but it's the end of the day, so tomorrow we'll get into this and pull it out and see if we can make it out of metal. But I'm going home. We're back at it again this morning. We're going to do a little cheating though. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I had a pre-made tunnel that I'd cut down and built that tunnel out of. It was just way too big, you'll see. But we're going to use that. Let me show you. So I cut that center section out that we're going to have to build and laid it on here already. The tunnel that came with it was a prefab. It's so big we didn't need it all, so I cut the other part down and made that. So this is going to have to be our center section. I'm going to cut that out, and hopefully we can make this work. spring out of it. I think it's going to work. It's we'll have to do a little shaping as we go, as we tack it in, but nothing crazy. I'm going to pull this out, and then we'll make this little piece right here and get that welded together, and probably that piece on the floor. So I got all that cut out. The driver's side is just a small piece. Didn't need a bunch. The passenger side had 3 divots in it. We're actually going to cut all that out and just delete them because they've been cut to where we couldn't, well, I didn't have any way to end them without spending hours and hours, and it doesn't matter. So I cut out a bigger patch for that. You saved me to clean them up. We're just going to go ahead and get them welded in, and then we'll start tacking in that centerpiece. I'm going to set you all up to where you can see me from the back. I hope this works. I hope you can see any of it, because it's really tough for me to be in there and you to be able to see it at the same time. We'll see how it goes. If you don't see any of it, I'll bring it when it's all tacked in. This one's about beat me, boys. It is hard to get in there. It's hard to weld it in. You got to I had to push on it to get it to go. Y'all saw the video. It looks like a lot, and it went fast, but it did not. You can see it back there, wherever that is. There we go. I have it welded in now. I'm going to show you this. We still got to build a few more things to get it completely welded in and then ground down. I've got a lot of hours in this. It adds up when it's hard to do. So let's take a look. Well, there y'all have it. Fits really nice up front, and that's really the part on this side and the other side are different. The floor pan's different. The footwell is always bigger in these on the A bodies, so that worked out good. I still have that gap down here at the bottom. But this winglet, I don't know what to call it. That's what we're going to call it. I've got to build one that goes up. It'll catch most of that. We'll still have a patch at the very top. Actually, there's one on the other side. I ended up having to cut it up there at the top, and I took just a little bit of material out to get this to fit. It's not perfect, and it could use a little hammer and dolly work, but it'll have to come back off the lift for that, and I'll do that when it's back down. But it does fit in there. I had to put a small sliver on that far side to make it all match up, which I ain't mad about. But it's in there. That's the important part. Let's take a look from the outside. You can see back in there now, but actually once the intake's on it, you won't even be able to see back there that much. But yeah, I ain't mad at it. It turned out all right. We got plenty of room for the transmission. On the other side, we have the dipstick tube that goes in. It should be just fine. I left what I would think would be more than enough room to run a stock one. If they want to run an aftermarket, I'm not sure if you can see it down there, but you can actually see where it goes in. There looks like there's plenty of room. So we'll have to pull this back off, and I'll have to trim up the very bottom and grind all that down. So I think I'll tackle our next project, which is getting these winglets where they fit, and then seeing how much we still need to patch that stuff, and then weld in those winglets. And once they're welded in, I'll cut the excess material from the bottom and dress it down there too eventually. Yeah, let me show you what I got. So when I was building those, they were really long. I just made a long piece for it, which worked out just fine. And then I wrote right and left side on them because, you know, I wanted to make sure they were correct. And they would fit basically like that and come back. But we don't need those as wide, so let's make it complicated. I'm actually going to go in and cut a probably 3/4 of an inch off the inside of this, and then we're going to fit it back up and then figure out where we've got to cut it out here to make it all lay in right and work. I have a plan. It's a loose plan, but I have one. And then to find out exactly, or as close to exact as we can, that angle up there, I have a little angle finder thing. You just push it in and line it all up till you get what you need, and then I can transfer that to the to this side of it. And I'm gonna do that actually probably before I do anything else. Make sure we can get it to where it fits good and tight in there, and once it fits tight, we can worry about cutting the back side and getting it all welded in. But I can already see, I knew we'd have a patch over here. This side was really odd, so I may go ahead and actually try to patch that. I can kind of see where we're going to be already, and I know we got to patch it, so I'm just going to patch that right quick. Y'all don't need to see me patch that. I'm going to get it done, and then we'll get back to these little winglet things and get those straightened out. I've got our little patch in right there. Looks good. I got this guy to where it lays really nice down in here, and that'll give us a good fitment. All we got to do is transfer that to this. I'll draw that on there and just cut it out, and then we'll do some fitting and we'll get her done. I've actually already cut it, but just laid that up there. Got it where I knew the bottom was, marked it, and trimmed it. So that should work out. I'm going to mark us a 1/2 inch line or so, maybe 3/4. And trim the back side of this off. I may do half. We can always come back and do more if we want more off of it. The back side of that has to be pretty big so we can get the hoses through there. But with this, we'll be in good shape. So yeah, let's get it cut down. I went ahead and cut 1/2 inch off. I marked another 1/4 inch just in case we need to take it out. Fits really pretty good up front. And what we're going to do for where it meets back here is I'm just going to get this where I like it. I'm going to mark this right here on the part that's already welded in, and wherever that runs off, we'll trim it back to there, and then we'll trim this top piece to fit down, and we'll cut it to where it all fits together, and we'll weld it in and blend it. It'll be really nice. So I can't do that with one hand, so I'm gonna have to put y'all down. I'll just get it all marked, and we'll get this thing cut. And so we can get this winglet in here. It's Friday. I'd really like to wrap all this up today, and then Monday can be grinding or welding on other things or whatever. But I'd like to get the metal in this thing today. I got her marked. We'll go ahead and just get her cut out in here. Keep on moving. So that's our piece that's going to go on the bottom. I laid it in there. I marked the top where it has to be, where the other seam is, and I just pulled it back here. This is where our new line is that we cut up. So I'm going to trim that right through there, and we'll see if we can get all this to fit in there. Also, I had a gap at the bottom on the floor. I made us a patch for that. I'm going to toss all that in right quick. We can get this cut, and we'll see what it looks like. Got her fitting in there really, really good. Bottom down here will have to be beat in just a little bit, but I'll weld the rest of this and then just hammer this part in. I'll weld it up to like there, and that'll bend that in, and weld that, and it'll be done. So we're just going to do it right quick, and I'll show you what she looks like.
Hey, I'm back. Let me show you what I've actually done all day yesterday. Yeah, all day yesterday. I came in and ground down and re-welded everything that needed to be done on the inside. So the inside of this thing is completely wrapped up, and it turned out real good. I'm super happy with how the floor looks. I've saved a bunch of room by trimming that down. We had to have this bigger pieces on the back because there's a plug back here, so you have to be able to get the plug up and into the trans. So this car is built for this transmission basically at this point, and probably put other transmissions in it, but this is the one that's going to fit the best. So after all that, I actually pulled the body off the frame again. got it back kind of on the lift. Bunch of stuff to do underneath it. So let me show you what that is, and we'll wrap this video up. This is going to be the last of this. So you can see where I went through and had to re-weld some of it. Well, I didn't have to, but just to make everything good and strong, there's a few welds that I thought didn't penetrate quite enough. So I just hit those. And then over here at the far end, I knew I was going to have to weld that all together because I'd just never done it.
Thought I'd give you a shot of what we've built here. See how we've got this overhang? I'm just going to come in and just zap that off right quick with the cutoff wheel. And we'll grind all this down. It needs a little bit more weld right there. I can see it now. And a couple of places I'll probably end up putting a little bit more weld on the outside, just to make sure she's good and strong. Nothing crazy, but I have to clean up all the back edges too. Here's that front. See how we just let it hang down, which is fine. Come in here, cut it off. You can easily see where to cut. Then grind her down, and that's all done. It's official, I'm done. It's taken an eternity. Note, not wearing the same thing I was when I started. Let's take a look. I finally got all this welded in here. It looks fantastic. I'm super happy. This right in here may look great, but it was so thin I had a lot of problems welding it, but it had to be welded together. Same on this side actually wasn't as bad. And then I cleaned up the tunnel. All this in here I just left it out from before, so I cut it and ground it all back. That's all good. We're good all the way back through there. So yeah, she's finally ready to go back on the body, I think. Whew, man, what a job. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Next video, maybe we flush them out the glass. I don't know. We'll see. But other than that, she's ready to go back on the frame. We'll probably leave it off the frame until the front glass is mounted and where it's going to live. That way we don't have to work with the car being on the frame. Just got more working areas. So I appreciate you watching. I'll catch you on the next one.